Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 15, Text number 28. Mattadvirepa vanamalikaya nivito Vinyastaya sita chatushtaya bahumadhye Vaktram bhruva kutilaya sputa nirgamabhyam Raktekshanena chamanagrabhasam dadhano. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The two doormen were garlanded with fresh flowers, which attracted intoxicated bees, and which were placed around their necks and between their four blue arms. From their arched eyebrows, discontented nostrils, and reddish eyes, they appeared somewhat agitated. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Their garlands attracted swarms of bees because they were garlands of fresh flowers. In the Vaikuntha world, everything is fresh, new and transcendental. The inhabitants of Vaikuntha have bodies of bluish color and four hands like Narayana. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Mattha dvirepa vanamalikaya nivitau. Mattha means intoxicated. Dvirepa, bees. And these two doormen that was talked about in the previous verse. Deva, two of them. And they are wearing a vanamalikaya nivitau. It was hanging on the neck. Vinyastaya, placed around their neck. Asitha chatushtaya bahumadhye. Asita is the bluish hue of the body of the residents of Vaikuntha. So asitha chatushtaya bahu, four arms, madhye, this vanamalikaya nivitau vinyasthaya. And around these fresh garlands, mattha dvirepa, the intoxicated bees were hovering around, swarming. And their vaktram, and their face, bhruva kutilaya, and their eyebrows in their face was arched. Sputa nirgamabhyam, and their nostrils were, they were breathing heavily, and snorting, kind of a sound coming from their nose with heavy breathing. Rakta ikshanena, and their eyes were red. So obviously they are very disturbed about something. So quite disturbed. Chamana rabhasam dadhana. And in such a way, with that kind of an agitated mind, they glanced at the four Kumaras who have come there. So the two doormen were garlanded with fresh flowers, vanamalikaya nivitau, which attracted intoxicated bees, mattha dvirepa, and which were placed around their necks. Nivitau, and between the four blue arms, Vinyastaya Asita Chatushtaya Abahu Madhye. From their arched eyebrows, Kutilaya Bhruva, discontented nostrils, Sputa Nirgamabhyam, and reddish eyes, Rakta Ikshanena, they appeared somewhat manag, rabasam, they be somewhat agitated. Srila Prabhupada in the purport has not talked much about their agitation, why they are agitated. Prabhupada will take up that in the next verse and the purport. Prabhupada has once again come back to this point which he started describing from the previous verse, to describe the situation in the spiritual world. What is the atmosphere? What is the kind of a situation that exists in the spiritual world? In the previous verse, because it said that samana vayasav atha saptamayam devau achakshata, the four sages saw two men who were samana vayasaha, they were of the same age. And Prabhupada expanded on that and said in the purport, they were of the same age because there is no old age in the spiritual world. Everyone ages up to a certain age, and after that they don't age at all, and they remain at that. And so you cannot make out who is senior, who is young, who is old. Samana vayasav, they all appear like they are of the same age. The significance of the doormen's being of the same age is that in Vaikuntha planets there is no old age. So one cannot distinguish who is older than whom. And similarly, in today's verse, Mathadvire pavanamalikaya nivithau, Prabhupada has taken that point that the fresh flower garlands which were decorating these two doormen, Vaikuntha Dwarapalakas, and they had fresh flower garlands, and there were intoxicated bees around them. And the intoxicated bees indicates that the flower garlands were fresh. And then Srila Prabhupada is saying they are fresh and there is no old age, which means they will always remain fresh. The garlands remain fresh, the youthful body remains fresh, and everyone remains fresh and youthful in the spiritual world, and that is the nature of the spiritual existence. There is another verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam which talks about this freshness. Navyavad hrudaye yagno brahmaitad brahmavadibihi. Etad brahma. This is Brahman situation. What is that? Navyavad hrudaye. It's always navya. Fresh. New and transcendental. Navyavad hrudaye yagno brahmaitat brahmavadivihi. And brahmavadis who know about Brahman, who know the real nature of Brahman, they describe that Navyavad hrudaye yagno. The hearts, their heart is filled with always very fresh, blissful rasa, and that is the kind of an existence that is there in the spiritual world. So there is nothing that becomes hackneyed, boring, depressing. It is always fresh, full of life, is charged with that kind of a situation. That is the Brahman situation. Navyavad hridaye. Heart is always fresh, new. So all these verses help us to understand the kind of atmosphere that is present in the spiritual world. Another verse that Srila Prabhupada quoted, we also chant, is from the Brahma Samhita that describes the spiritual atmosphere. Ananda chinmaya rasa pratibhavitabhi Thabhirya eva nija rupa thaya kalabhi Goloka eva nivasati akhilatma bhuto Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. This verse also describes Goloka, the spiritual world, where the Lord nivasati, the Lord resides. What happens there? How is He? Is He alone there in the spiritual world? No. Nija rupataya kalabhi. His same Nija rupa means his same spiritual form. Kalabhi, who are extensions of himself. Kala means extensions, portions and plenary portions. Kala, all such words are there. Nija rupataya kalabhi. Actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who translated these verses, said that this refers to Radharani and the gopis. So they are Nija rupataya kalabhi. Tabhir Nija rupataya kalabhi. With them nivasati. He resides in the spiritual world with spiritual forms who are actually extensions of his own spiritual form, who are his great devotees, Radha and the gopis. And what is their situation? Ananda chinmaya rasa pratibhavitabhi. And pratibhavita means absorbed or engrossed. What kind of a bhavitabhi? And pratibhavitavi, every moment they are engrossed in Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitavi. They are engrossed in that Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. That is why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur translates that as permeated and vitalized by the ever blissful spiritual rasa. It's a very wonderful expression and translation of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. These extensions, kalabi, nijarupataya kalabi, they are permeated and vitalized by the ever blissful spiritual rasa. And this experience is not just once in a way this kind of an Ananda Chinmaya Rasa experience happens. No, pratibhavithabhi. Every moment in the spiritual world, the devotees, the associates of the Lord are experiencing this. Permeated and vitalized by the ever blissful spiritual rasa. So, like this, the Brahma Samhita also describes the situation in the spiritual world. That how, so we see, we get this kind of information, it is Navyavad. Because it's a Brahman, it's a world of spirit. It is Brahman's situation. It is not like in the material world, there are three modes of material nature. And all the three modes of material nature are competing with each other to influence the living entity. When tamoguna influences sleep, laziness, inactivity, and then rajoguna influences the living entity becomes agitated and wants to enjoy his senses, lord over material nature. Now and then sattva-guna influence comes, and then one becomes a little thoughtful. Hey, what is happening to me? Why all this is going on? A little thoughtfulness comes. But then again rajoguna and tamoguna overpowers, and then we become lazy about all these kind of philosophical pursuits and questioning why this is happening. It's all right, and let me enjoy the material world. So like this, in the material world, the three gunas are permeating, and they are continuously influencing the living entities into dullness or agitated mode, or a little seeking of knowledge, seeking of some good happiness. So like this, in this material world we are going through, contrast that with the spiritual world, permeated and vitalized by the ever blissful spiritual rasa every moment. And that's the kind of a situation the Vedic literatures are pointing out. There is another verse which particularly describes the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavana, which when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was instructing Rupa Goswami, he pointed this out. He said that there is something very special about Krishna Loka, about Goloka Vrindavan. And what is that? There Krishna is continuously engaged in different leelas. Sarvadbhuta chamatkara leela kallola varidhi. Varidhi means an ocean. And in an ocean there are many waves, kallola. So how many waves are there? Endless, innumerable, countless waves are there. In the same way there are countless leela that Krishna is absorbed in. So, and what kind of leela are they? They are sarvadbhuta chamatkara. It is something that will astonish everyone. Sarvadbhuta chamatkara leela kallola varidhi. So this is the situation in the spiritual world. Krishna is continuously performing different leelas, and thus these leelas are sarva adbhuta chamatkara. Striking, astonishing, wonderful leelas. Countless leelas. The ocean of leelas that the Lord is performing in the spiritual world. So we get an understanding. It's not some kind of a static world. It is so dynamic. Now, Krishna is doing all of these wonderful pastimes alone? Is he engaged in all of these different things alone? No. Atulya madhura prema mandita priyamandalaha. He is priyamandala. He is always surrounded by loving devotees. Priyamandala means always he is in the company of devotees. That's why we never represent Krishna standing alone. Right? In all our paintings that Srila Prabhupada was directing devotees to do, you see Krishna is always surrounded by the cowherd boys, gopis, Mother Yashoda, elderly gopis, or the cows who are also great devotees of the Lord. He's always surrounded, Priyamandala. And this Priyamandala, and what's the kind? They have a decoration, it says, Mandita. Mandana means decoration. So they have a kind of a decoration. What is the decoration? That these Priyamandala, these associates who are accompanying the Lord, who are associates of the Lord, they have Atulya Madhura Prema Mandita Priyamandalaha. Atulya Madhura Prema, incomparable. Tula means measure, immeasurable. Atulya Madhura Prema. They love the Lord with all their hearts, and they are experiencing that Madhura Prema, sweet love. Also can refer to the conjugal love, Madhurya Rasa. Atulya Madhura Prema Mandita. This is what they are decorated. Mandana means decorations. Garland, abharana, all that we wear. That's called mandanam. So they are also decorated. And what is their decoration? Atulya Madhura Prema Mandita Priyamandalaha. So this is Krishna's situation. And there is another very extraordinary thing that happens there in the spiritual world, in Goloka Vrindavana. And that is Trijagan manasa karshi muruli kalakujitaha. And the Lord always has a flute, murali. And the flute music is supposed to be, among all the different instruments, something that's very enchanting. Trijagan manasa karshi. In the three worlds, it can grab the attention, the minds of people. Trijagan manasa karshi murali kalakujitaha. And the vibrations, kujitaha, vibrations are kalakujita, very melodious vibrations of murali. And there's another last item that Rupa Goswami describes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes, and that is asamana urdhva rupa shri vismapita characharaha. Krishna, the spiritual form of Krishna, is Rupa and Shri, and his opulence that is present in the spiritual world. His form, his beauty and opulence is asamana urdhva. There is no comparison to it, and there is nothing that can surpass. Asamana urdhva rupa shri vismapita characharaha. And it is so incomparable, the beauty and the opulence of Krishna, that it is striking to all chara and achara, all movable and immovable living entities. So all living entities are just vismapita. Vismapita means to be awestruck. Wow, what's this? So all the residents of the spiritual world are awestruck, seeing the asamana urdhva rupa shri vismapita characharaha. Now we see the spiritual situation, the atmosphere in the spiritual world that is being described in the Vedic literatures. And this is the atmosphere, this is the lively atmosphere, this is the charming, charged atmosphere, and the associates of the Lord, they are charged, permeated and vitalized by the ever blissful spiritual rasa. And this is the kind of a situation in the spiritual world, and the Vedic literatures are conveying this information, and we must appreciate this, we must recognize this, and that is what the Acharyas are saying. That is why Bhaktivedanta Thakur said that we must enter into the spirit of the Shastras. This is what the Shastra is talking about. There is a certain lively activities, there is a certain lively atmosphere there. We must recognize that. We must qualify. The Vedic literatures provide the information that what is the qualification to relish that, to recognize that, to experience that. And that is to come to the Brahman situation. Because this is Navyavat Hrudaye Yagno Brahmaitat Brahmavadibihi. Etat Brahma. This is Brahman situation. This is the situation in the spiritual world. The Vedic literatures are pointing out. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, we should not just be confined to the words of the Shastras. We should see the spirit and enter into the spirit of the Shastras. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said the same thing about Brahma Samhita verses. We should enter into the spirit of the hymns of these Brahma Samhita. And Srila Prabhupada also said we should enter into the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita. So enter into the spirit means to relish, to recognize, to appreciate that lively activities and the lively atmosphere that is present there, and feel drawn to that. In fact, all the Vedic literatures, especially the Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna is doing in the Bhagavad Gita is, Krishna is extending an invitation. Please come to my spiritual world. Krishna is saying, Manmana bhava bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mameva eshyasi satyam te. Mam eshyasi means you will come to me. So Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhagavad Gita, actually Krishna is extending an invitation. Please come to me. This is the spiritual world. This is the situation in the spiritual world. And on the other hand, we are here in this material world, constantly being troubled by old age, disease, death, natural disasters, miseries caused by other living entities, miseries caused by one's own body and mind, and constantly we are going through this. On the other hand, what is available in the spiritual world? And Krishna himself is inviting us. Actually, this is a confidential information. Not many times people recognize this. There are many great acharya, many great sampradayas, many great scholars in this world. They read all of this, but still they will miss the spirit of the Vedic literatures. They will miss the spirit. They will miss out that we must enter into the spirit of the Vedic literatures. This point they will miss out. They'll be studying the Vedic literatures, they'll be scholars, they'll be analyzing the verses, analyzing this verse and that verse, doing all of those things and leading a very contented, leading a kind of a sattvic life, but still they will miss out the real spirit of the Vedic literatures. This is the special thing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pointed out. He not only pointed out, he lived in that kind of a spirited state. And he showed this, what it is to experience, to be in that spiritual atmosphere. So, but unfortunately we don't recognize this. We don't see that the Vedic literatures, especially the Gita and the Bhagavatam, always Prabhupada spoke so confidently, with enormous confidence about Gita and the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada said, everything is there in the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. One devotee, there was a devotee who was about to leave Krishna consciousness and go away, a woman devotee. And Prabhupada felt very strongly and he requested her, please don't leave Krishna consciousness. There is no philosophy in the world like the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita. There is nothing which can compare the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. Please don't ever leave Krishna consciousness. In fact, there were occasions where Prabhupada shed tears, praying, requesting the disciples, please don't go away. Please don't go away. Because this is something very valuable that Krishna has conveyed. Although Krishna spoke that in the Bhagavad Gita, there are many, many acharyas who came and explained. Still there was some last bit of a touch and a push that was needed. So Krishna himself came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All the different acharyas, because there were so many, Kali Yugas, too many influences come. So too many negative influences come. And people Brahmanas started following the Vedas, and they saw in the Vedas there is animal sacrifice mentioned. They started quoting that one and converted the temples into slaughterhouses. A misunderstanding. Then once again the Lord had to come as Buddha to set right all those things. Nindasi yagna videraha shruti jatam. Although he is the Lord himself, who wants to give the information about yagna from the Shrutis. But when it is misunderstood, he himself came and said, reject the Vedas. Nindasi yagna videraha shruti jatam. So, no. These are the things that happen in Kali Yuga. Because very unfortunate atmosphere in Kali Yuga. And Buddha came and he had to keep away all of these misunderstanding from the Vedic literatures. And the best way he thought was, he put aside, keep away the Vedas, I will teach you about ahimsa. And he taught them. And then that was not the highest understanding. Once again, Krishna sent different acharyas. He sent Lord Shiva, now go and rectify the situation. And Lord Shiva came as Shankaracharya. He taught basically the same kind of a Buddhist philosophy, Prachanna Bauddham Uchyate, Mayavadam Asat Shastram, Prachanna Bauddham Uchyate. He taught more or less the same Buddhist conclusion, but on the basis of the Vedic literatures. Once again, the importance of the Vedic literatures was established. But that's not the highest thing. Then he sent other acharyas, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbharaka, Vishnu Swami. All these 4 acharyas came, once again establishing the true intent of the Vedic literature. What is the real conclusion? Vishnu is the supreme, Krishna is the supreme, Vaikuntha is the supreme abode. It is not that the material world is false. It is not that the absolute has no form, has no variegatedness. No, all of this is there in the Vedic literatures. How can the Vedic literatures be talking about all these things and say, no, it is all Brahman is just Nirvishesha and Shunya, it is all, it's all oneness. No, there is also all of this variegatedness described. How to understand all these things? The acharyas came and explained all this. And still it was not enough. There was still something missing. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, and he came and taught the final thing, that this is what the spiritual situation is. The spiritual world situation is. And Krishna is inviting all of us to come to that spiritual world. This is the sum and substance of the Vedic message. This is the true purpose of the Vedic literature. Telling us about the spiritual world, the atmosphere and the lively activities that happens, the wonderful devotees who are present there, and how they are permeated and vitalized by the ever blissful spiritual rasa. And we also can qualify and enter that spiritual situation. This is the whole point. But there are many other distractions that come in this human society, and people miss out this message. And now we are so fortunate that Chaitanya, and then further, after Chaitanya established this, once again under the influence of Kali Yuga, just 2 generations later, the true understanding of Chaitanya's philosophy was once again lost. Just see how Kali Yuga influences are constantly opposing and kalau sattvaharam pumsam. The real meaning, the real sattva, it actually haram, it takes away. That's the nature of Kali Yuga. And once again, acharyas had to come, like Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and once again he had to establish what is the true understanding of Chaitanya's philosophy. And even after that, Bhaktivedanta Thakur himself felt, my work is not complete. And he prayed to Krishna, please send me a son who will continue my work. And that's how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was born. And he continued the work of Bhaktivedanta Thakur, once again continuing to identify these are all false sampradayas, these are all misunderstanding of the true intent of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then when he was trying to point out all those things, there were a lot of opposition. The local people, there was so much opposition from the caste Goswamis, from the Smarta Brahmanas, and so many other Babajis who were apparently following Chaitanya's philosophy, but were not really following the rigor and the purity that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted. Because unless you come to that pure level, you will not, only in the Brahman situation you can experience all this. This is the true thing, this is the right way to understand. But this was all misunderstood. And there was a lot of opposition that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur faced. In fact, there was an attempt on his life. They were conspiring to kill Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. All these kind of difficulties he faced, and he continued to write books, write periodicals, establish Gaudiya Mats, sending his disciples and asking his disciples to go and give this knowledge everywhere in the world. And many attempts were made, and all of them were not very successful. And then came Srila Prabhupada, who wrote these books in a way that we can understand. In fact, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's, both his writings and his talks were not very easy to comprehend. Most disciples could not follow. Even Srila Prabhupada says, in the beginning when I used to sit, I could not understand what he was saying. His talk was so philosophical. Just like when we read Brahma Samhita purports and how he writes some of those purports. Very hard to comprehend. And then Srila Prabhupada had to write in simple language, in simple English language, that we all can appreciate and understand. People all over the world can read and appreciate. So it's a long spanning over thousands of years. All of this is happening. And now we have this information available as given by Srila Prabhupada. It's not a small thing what Srila Prabhupada has done to convey this information in simple English language that we can appreciate, we can understand. He created an institution where we can follow. He gave a certain schedule that we can follow from morning till evening. In this way, absorb ourselves and actually come to the Brahman position and begin to relish and experience and understand what is the spiritual world situation, what it means to be permeated and vitalized by the ever blissful spiritual rasa, what it is to come to that stage. So this is the wonderful thing that Srila Prabhupada has created. We should always remember this. We should always appreciate this. Then we will value what Srila Prabhupada has given us. And Srila Prabhupada we see in all these verses, in all these situations, Prabhupada is very eager to point out what is the spiritual world situation. It's ever fresh, ever new, transcendental. That's the kind of a situation in the spiritual world. This is what the four Kumaras were also experiencing. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.